Welcome everybody to a very important hearing that we have. Thank you for being patient while we get started here. I'll have an opening statement. Senator Feinstein will, and then I'll introduce our first panel, and then when we're done there, go to the second panel and introduce that at that time. The Senate Judiciary Committee today is holding a hearing that we entitle Responses to the Increase in Religious Hate Crimes. This is a subject of great bipartisan interest in the committee. Religious hate crimes harm victims and also have a great impact on communities. Many of these crimes would never have been committed but for hatred. They run counter to America's values such as religious freedom and tolerance. Americans have the right to be safe against those who would treat them as members of religious groups rather than as individuals. Religious hate crimes are on the rise. Crimes against Jewish people are the most common religious hate crimes, and they have increased. Religious hate crimes against Muslims are the fastest growing category. These crimes increased by 67% between 2014 and 2015, the last year in which the FBI has records available. I have been contacted by fearful Iowans. Fear for practicing one's religion should never happen in this country. This problem has been growing for some time and is not new. Last week, President Trump stated, quote, "This is my pledge to you. We will confront anti-Semitism. We will stamp out prejudice. We will condemn hatred. We will bear witness, and we will act," end of quote. With these statements, the president followed a tradition for government action dating back to George Washington, who in 1790 wrote to a synagogue in Rhode Island that, quote, "The government of the United States gives to bigotry no sanctions, to persecution no assistance," end of quote. Government action to enforce the First Amendment guarantee of free exercise of religion is necessary if these rights are to be protected against those who commit these awful hate crimes. Law enforcement resources will need to be deployed to houses of worship if necessary. Law enforcement may need to create specific task forces and provide special assistance to religious groups to enhance security or for other purposes. That reality may require people who read the First Amendment Establishment Clause so broadly as to prohibit any government assistance that aids a religious entity to reconsider those views. So I have this for instance. The Supreme Court recently considered the constitutionality of a Missouri state constitutional provision prohibiting government financial assistance to religious institutions and whether the state could prohibit a religious institution from receiving government grants in a program that would be available to secular entities. At oral arguments, Justice Alito asked the lawyer from Missouri about a grant program such an existing federal program to enhance, to quote, "harden nonprofit organization facilities that are deemed to be at high risk for terrorist attacks." Continuing to quote, "So if you have a synagogue that is at high risk of an attack by an anti-Semitic group or a mosque that is considered to be at high risk for attack by an anti-Muslim group, would the Missouri Constitution permit the erection of bollards like we have around the court here," end of quote from Alito. Astonishing to me, the lawyer responded, "No, the Missouri Constitution would not permit the state, even on a neutral basis, to administer a security grant program to protect houses of worship. The safety of buildings is important in itself, but we cannot lose sight of the fact that people are so often in those buildings and being targeted. The Establishment Clause should not be read to forbid government from saving the lives of people practicing their religion. I believe that religious hate crimes require a governmental response. Our response is financial assistance to facilities that are targeted. I hope that the Supreme Court does not issue a ruling that allows government to forbid religious entities from receiving assistance against attacks that is available to other organizations. Our witnesses today will shed light on this topic. We will hear from the Justice Department about efforts underway to combat religious hate crimes. We will then hear from civil rights and law enforcement organizations on the nature of the problems and how to address it. We will also hear from a victim of religious hate crime. I look forward to their testimony. Senator Feinstein.